name that I chose, I suppose, just a bit of like a pin in the board, is Private James Craven, number 1251, 10th Rifle Brigade, killed July 1916. Straight away there are two inaccuracies, because the War Graves Commission, Commonwealth War Graves Commission, lists him as Lance Corporal James Craven, who actually died on the 3rd of September 1916, aged 26. So what have I found out about James? Here we have 3 years of the census. Let's see if I can do this. Walkley born and bred, Compton Street, Parsonage Crescent. There are 3 brothers. His mother actually was born in Bradwell, Derbyshire, but not far away. And here is James. In the 1901 census, something has obviously happened, because although we have a Virginia as well, Hannah has remarried. Now, James's father died at the age of 39 after a bowel instruction in absolute agony, apparently. It would have been very traumatic from the family. Hannah would have been left as a widow with 4 children, and she married a widower, Jabez Wallis, and these 4 Craven children are joined by 2 Wallis children. And apparently they didn't get on that well. And James and Virginia, particularly seen here, one is 18, one is 20, were reputedly really close. And you can see why. He probably stood up for her, sandwiched as she is between 2 step siblings. You can actually also see that he is a Britannica, although that's a Britannia, it should say. It's a misspelling in the transcript. Metalsmith. Britannia Metalsmith. Press the right button. Right, that's not a brilliant photograph, but I suspect you've seen this sort of thing in junk shops, so pretty common. Examples of Britannia metal, and some of the sorts of items that James may have been making. He worked for 8 years for a small company on Henry Street, sort of down beyond where Tesco's is, right at the end of that road where the tram goes off. There's a little street called Henry Street. There's nothing left there apart from modern units. And it was a company called Bramwell & Co., which was there from 1897 to 1927. And Sheffield was well known for making Britannia metal, which was a sort of a pewter, which was easier to stamp and could be polished with silver sheen. And there's plenty of it exported to places like America. Very popular at the time. I have a picture of James. He always seems to have that sort of slightly, I suppose it's an old picture, and they posed in different ways then. But it's a slightly haunted look, really. And next, a picture of his sister, Virginia. Which very much puts us back into the right time. James volunteered and signed up on the 6th of September 1914, and here we have his papers. Many of these papers have been destroyed, and it's really good to have James's here. You can see here there's a Battalion Metalsmith, 5'5", quite a slight chap, although people were shorter in those days. 112 pounds, it's about 8 stone. Good health generally. Here's quite interesting, his family. Now his brothers there, all living at different addresses now, all married. Industry Street, Carr Road, and Stores Hall, Virginia. He doesn't mention his half-brother and it's quite telling that he doesn't mention his half-brother and half-sister, just none. Half-brother none. Picture of him, and I don't think Bill would have seen this. It's a picture of him in uniform. He joined the 10th Service Battalion, the Rifle Brigade, which was raised at Winchester in September 1914 as part of Kitchener's 2nd New Army, and joined the 59th Brigade, the 20th Light Division. They're all very confusing numbers, these, but it helps in looking up what happened. And here we see James wearing a rather odd sort of uniform, which is called a Kitchener's Blues uniform. It consisted of a rough, coarse material and was a training uniform issued due to equipment shortages early in the war. After 6 months of training, they proceeded to France on the 21st of July 1915, landing at Boulogne. You see Boulogne up there. They actually were training, or they actually were working in the St. Omer area, and we had trench familiarisation in here, and then went up towards near Ypres, where he was first engaged in battle, or proper battle, trench warfare I should probably say. In his training, he must have conducted himself well, as he was appointed Lance Corporal on the 10th of March 1916. In June, the division saw action at Mount Sorrel near Ypres, in which the 20th Division, along with the Canadians, recaptured the heights. They were next in action on the Somme, and you'll see he was in the Battle of Delville Wood, and followed by the Battle of Guillemont. And it's all in this area. This is actually where the war memorial is, where he's remembered. The other man who I'll be talking about shortly, the other person's name, is actually to do with the other B and C. There's two people there, and it's amazing how close they were in Wicked. So he goes into action. Delville Wood is sometimes known as Devil's Wood, and the fighting here during the Battle of the Somme was particularly ferocious. Here we see the wood, which used to be thick and dense, now a desolate wasteland covered in shell holes, broken trees, remains of trenches. But it was the Battle of Guillemont, which, I mean, the worst of the pictures, these. That's the high street of the village, nothing much left. And it was here that James lost his life. It was a subsidiary attack of the Somme offensive and launched at midday on the 3rd of September 1916. It was a victory for the British. The village had been heavily fortified and losses were very heavy. Arthur Conan Doyle writes about this in History of the Great War, and I'm just going to quote a bit. I've got more than this, and the 10th Brigade is actually mentioned, and they really had to go straight towards machine guns, which very bravely they took in their stride. No more valiant or successful an advance had been seen during the war, a classic example of what British infantry can do with all the odds against them. English losses were heavy, and James was one of those who lost his life. Pretty blasted to bits. Another quote here, which I'm not going to read out now, but again, if you want to read it, it's here. Sort of not a blade of grass left. Very nasty. In the war diaries of the 20th Light Division, we're told that the rifle brigades of the 20th Division had taken quite a mauling. They were under strength before the attack. A lot of men were reported missing in action as they fell in front of the German trenches, and their bodies were unrecoverable. James is reported as missing in action. And his body, if it was found, was never identified, and this was especially hard for the family. And this picture was taken after the Battle of Guillemont. It's actually looking through dead men's packs to find various artefacts or letters to send back to relatives. And it's the Royal Army Medical Corps doing this. And that is actually, James's pack would have been there for all I know. We've actually got a cemetery here, again, Guillemont Cemetery. Now this is the cemetery that was closed in March 1917, but it was the men who actually fell, but there were only 121 burials here. It shows how they started off with wooden crosses. The memorial to the 20th Light Division, they played a large part in the capture of Guillemont, and this is located at the division's furthest position that was captured during its attack. And this is a new one. It was put in 1995 because the other one was became too weather worn. The actual Gillingham World War Cemetery, built on those first few crosses, greatly increased after the war by adding 2,193 more graves, mostly from July to September fighting 1916. And the majority of those that were added, 1,523, are unknown. And James is undoubtedly there if he was found at all. And here we have a picture of the Somme as it is today with poppies. This was the sort of land that they fought across. Well known picture, probably saying this wrong, I think Val Memorial to the missing of the Somme. There's the names of over 72,000 men with no known grave. And over 90% of these commemorated died in the battles of the Somme between July and November 1916. And there's James's name. And then in our cemetery, we have family grave, remembering James in amongst little child there called Edward, James's eldest brother's son who died. Third wife of Jabez, who lasted to the ripe old age of 81. And that is James.